Hi there, Andrew Kalita from On Demand HR here. Today we're going to be discussing what is no doubt one of the hot HR topics of 2023, and that is international migration and working visas. And to help us unpack this, we're joined by Melanie McFarlane, who founded Migration back in 2007, and today has a staff of over 100 people assisting in the process as a registered migration agent. So really looking forward to digging into her perspective, experience, and thoughts on migration as it relates to Australian businesses for 2023 and beyond. For someone that has absolutely no idea, from a business owner that's never had to effectively look to sponsor a migrant as part of their business and in order to help them and assist them to migrate to Australia, obviously there's a lot involved. But do you want to give me maybe a little bit of a high-level overview of what's involved and what a business needs to think about and consider in order to make the whole process successful for them?
Yes, absolutely. And I can be quite succinct in this answer, actually. It's about an expense. You're going to look at it between about $3,000 to $5,000 to $7,000, depending on the size of your business, per applicant to sponsor. So that's something to be upfront about from the start. That is, if you do follow a particular type of sponsorship. There are some sponsorships like the training visa where you don't have to pay that amount. So there's the expense. There's labour market testing. You have to advertise for 28 days in advance in a very specific way. And you also have to show that the business is operating correctly, paying its taxes, no adverse information and what have you. And that's kind of it in a nutshell, to put it very simply.
If they're paying a $5,000 to $7,000 fee, it's not unlike a traditional recruitment agency fee, to be fair, depending on the level of employee that you're actually getting. So I guess for a lot of businesses, potentially expenses may not be the biggest concern. Is there a rough guide that you could give us around what the obligations are? So I'm a business, I paid my $7,000, I've advertised for 28 days, or X amount of dollars, you said 5 to 7. I've advertised for 28 days using the prescribed method. I found a candidate. I've accepted them, in inverted commas, if that's how you want to explain it. What are my obligations now that they've arrived in Australia?
Yeah, right. Okay. Yes. And it's a good point and a good question, because there are sponsorship obligations that the employer needs to abide by, and they sign off on that as part of the deal of sponsoring somebody from overseas. So as soon as they are here, they need to pay them the correct wage that they signed up for in their employment contract that was submitted with the application, pay the correct wage, superannuation, and all the normal HR matters, need to be covered. If the sponsored employee wanted to return to their country, they would be obliged to pay for their tickets to return. But in all honesty, in all the 16 years of running a business, I have rarely, if only once, I think, encountered that particular scenario. It's very unusual because most people want to stay here. So that's one obligation. But in reality, the obligations that they have are to abide by employment law. So employment law is inextricably bound within the immigration legislation framework. And so it's something that's very important that they need to take note of, just as if they were employing an Australian permanent resident or citizen employee